Hello, Tech Pros, episode 214.
We don't think we're the smartest person in the room, but what makes us strong is our ability to listen to what our customers need.
Welcome to the podcast where I chat with professionals who are getting the job done using technology 7 days a week. Each week we start with Motivation Monday. Tuesday is about productivity, Wednesday, leadership, Thursday, technology, Friday, people and communication, Saturday, entrepreneurship, and Sunday, being unplugged. All right, let's get started. Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I'm excited to introduce our featured guest today, Ron Atzmon. Happy Thursday, Ron.
Happy Thursday.
Are you geeked out and ready to talk technology?
Ready and go.
Ready, let's go. Ron Atzmon is the Managing Director of Authentics Limited, pioneers of multi-channel ID authentication and record generation. Mr. Atzmon has led the company to the position of technology leader and provider of choice of the world's major players. Under Mr. Atzmon's leadership, Authentics introduced the concept of secure customer onboarding, redefining fraud prevention best practices, but also influencing customer acquisition success rates across financial service markets. So, Ron, this sounds like a pretty neat space that we're talking about. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not sure exactly in what space that we're talking about. So, when we say multi-channel ID authentication and record generation, the first thing that pops into my mind is just good old-fashioned database stuff, right? So I'm creating a record in a database, and I want to make sure that that record is unique and that it's valid and that it's great. But then I also think about, okay, well, ID authentication, maybe we're talking about people, and maybe we're trying to determine that, Chad is really Chad, and Chad is not, Nancy or Bob or something like that. So what exactly are we talking about when we're talking about the multi-channel ID authentication and record generation space?
Well, you are definitely correct. I mean, it's a bit confusing, Chad, because when you talk about ID, old school stuff is all about data, but we are actually not in the data business. We are in the image processing business, and when we're talking about IDs, it's not just data; it's IDs as for documents, identifying documents. The driver license, passports, ID cards, residence permits. Just to give a bit perspective to your U.S. customer base. It's these driver licenses that you used to invent in order to get a bit of booze when you're under 21. So that's what we're talking about. So we are in the onboarding of users while using documents. And I know it might be a bit, for some people a bit boring, but in the financial service business, I mean, like one of the issues for doing customer onboarding to open an account or doing any other financial procedures in a bank, like getting a mortgage or getting a car loan or changing your bank accounts. There's a very thick book called the Basel Regulation, and each year they launch a new chapter. And in the chapter number 2, which is called Basel 2, it says about how do you onboard the customer, and they're talking about how do you know? It's called the acronym is called KYC, which stands for Know Your Customer. And one of the KYC processes is checking documents. So we basically are helping financials, not anymore now, but we also it slipped to some other territories. But basically, it started from what drives our business now is regulation, that financial service, in order to open a bank account, you need to submit a document. If it's either in the branch operation or if you do it in the online space. So either way, so that's what we talk about multi-channel, which they also, the marketing guys call it omni-channel. So either online or tele or branch.
Gotcha. So this is very interesting because I was just on a cruise ship. We were talking about this right before we got on the call, and I was on the cruise ship, and it was very interesting because there were Oh my gosh, so many different countries represented on board, both from a staff perspective as well as the people who were cruising, right? The cruisers. And so I'm just trying to think through all the different types of documentation that had to be provided, from birth certificates from the people in the United States to passports from people outside the United States to the worker identification for the people that were coming on the ship to work, to the worker information for the people who were not a part of the cruise line but were more of contractors and so forth. And it's, gosh, man, just thinking about that, I've never thought about the different types of documents from that type of perspective, and to think about the complexities of, if I'm a cruise ship director and I'm trying to account for all the people coming on board the ship, like, how do I make sure that this passport is a real passport? How do I make sure that this document is a real document? And how do I make sure that Chad is really Chad and not some bad dude who's just trying to jump on board and take a free cruise somewhere? So pretty interesting.
Taking a free cruise is not that bad.
It's not bad from my perspective. I mean, I think it would be a greater place if they just gave me cruises for free.
Yeah. But you're definitely right. I mean, like, if we go back, and I think it's going to be interesting if you go back to understand where it all starts. I mean, like, we are now dealing with financial services, but we haven't started in financial services. If you look about our history, you would see that we started as a small R&D unit more than 20 years ago in a bigger company called ICTS. That's I for India, C for Charlie, T for Tango, S for Sugar. And ICTS, which is our parent company, is which we eventually spun off, and we are now we run our own P&L, and we're going in our own path. We're still owned by them, but we have our own destiny in that respect. Does passenger screening in airports globally, either in Europe, in Asia, or in the US. And our tool was developed for our parent company in order to actually, streamline the customer. I mean, like, it's not the customer, like, it's the passenger. And ICTS is a big company, with thousands of people, and we employ, as I said, many people. And we wanted to take out the human factor from the agent that check you before you board the plane, for high-risk flights and, riskier regions, okay, that, they don't, as you rightly said, just give you a bit of perspective. In the UK, there are 47 different versions of UK driver licenses.
Wow.
In the US, you have 50 states. Mm-hmm. Each state has 3 versions for adults for driver license, 3 versions for below, I think it's below 18 or 21, I can't really remember, it's a bit different. Then you have the new ID card, so, so there's no way there's a person that that will bring his knowledge to an art, because it's not hundreds of versions, it's thousands of versions. And governments, they launch new versions all the time. So that's where we started more than 20 years ago, in order to automate this process and basically take out the human factor out of the equation. But there were 3, I would say, events in the life cycle of the company, or the R&D unit, that brought us to where we are, which basically brought us to where we are. So the first one was, as I said, when we did in our pre-discussion, we R&D based is our core technology is based out of Tel Aviv in Israel. And we first found out, not because something good, but something bad happened in Israel. But in the heydays of the suicide bombings in 2001, 2002, we had an incident while we had someone who came in with a fake passport and created a bit of a at himself. So he killed a few people, and that's where the first time we were approached by the authorities. They were looking for a solution for the point of entry. That's how we understood that our tool that we developed internally is a very good tool for immigration control. So that's why we started selling to governments. But as you grow into the market, you understand that immigration is a limited market, and that's how we got to the second point. Actually, by coincidence, we read was I think it was 2008, an article about a bank getting fined for not doing proper KYC, and they get fined because they haven't checked properly the documents. And then we said, hold on, immigration is nice, but financial services is even nicer, and the
Right.
market is 10 times fold bigger, if not, it's not even 10 times. Like it's almost an endless market. So that's how we started moving from doing pure immigration to doing FS, and for stands for financial services. But it was still it was our older product, which is a client service solution, and integrating to banks in the late last century. I mean, like 2008, 9, 10. They didn't have a really incentive to I would say innovate and make more operation efficiency. Because it's not just checking the documents. It's also you need the whole procedure of getting the document, photocopying it, archiving it, extracting the data. It's an operation efficiency issue. So while we were having a bit of, at these times, challenges with the old school financial services, we saw early, in 2000, let's say 11, 2012, the rising of online financial services, as they're branded fintech. And that's when we launch our online product, because if you want to open, I mean, like US it's a late bloomer in that respect, but if you look at Europe in that respect, there's it's called the challenger banks. It's all the new banks in the UK and in Europe that are getting licenses in order to become a purely online banking platform.
Hmm.
So these operations, as also the remittancy players, they need to onboard the customer relatively quickly and in a compliant way. And you can't anymore wait for the user to submit the document, and then it goes to a back office service. It's not like you're standing in the branch, for like you can wait for like 15, 20 minutes until they do that. If you don't do that instantly, I mean, like in a couple of seconds, you're dead. I mean, like
Right.
dead. I mean, like real life, in a virtual life. No, the customer will not continue in your web application. So that's basically where I mean, like that's how basically we evolved from doing 20 years ago immigration and passenger screening to coming to reinventing ourselves as a solution for the rising of the fintech industry. But we also started seeing now like the old school banks. I mean, like coming and say, okay, we need to innovate, we need to make it, we need to be more agile, not just in the online space, but also the branch. People are getting a bit more, I would say, um, tired from waiting, and standing in line, and they want, I don't know, maybe the internet made us use for getting stuff instant. So the tolerance for time is becoming, people are getting less tolerant, for getting waiting from that respect.
So, Ron, we've covered a lot of information here over the history of this space. Very interesting. As I'm thinking back to 20 years ago, where I was 20 years ago, or maybe 25 years ago. 25 years ago, I was moving into high school, and there were a lot of kids getting fake IDs, right? And so I
Yes.
just watched this movie recently called Super Bad that kind of took me back to those days when the rage was getting a fake ID and knowing someone who had a nice computer, a nice printer, or had someone in an office somewhere who could print up a fake ID, and you would have these kids printing up like I'm from Hawaii and my name is now McLovin, and you're like, oh my god, that's ridiculous, just hilarious stuff like that. But taking it back even further, right? If you think of 50 years ago or 100 years ago, what was the document processing and check and ID validation process like for people before the internet, right? Or before this type of technology was invented? And I'm thinking back to, oh my gosh, the border patrol or the cruise ship director or just the guy that was selling beer at the local mart, right? He's got to be able to just make a gut check and say, hey, is this person is this person really McLovin from Hawaii, right? Or are they really a 17-year-old kid trying to get some alcohol here? And now, over the course of a lot of interesting technology upgrades that have happened that you guys have been a part of for the last 20 years, it's not just that, right? It's not just identifying who the person is, but it's being able to process that information and put the whole system in place together so that we can get that information faster and faster, not just to check that they're okay, but to also improve the experience of the customer. As you said, like the millennials now and just us in general, right? We are absolutely intolerant of wasting time. And whether it's online or offline, we have greater expectations now than ever before of, I just want this thing to be over. I want it to be done. I want to click a button. I want to sign the form. I want to skip through all the end user license agreements, and I want to just say yes, done, and everything's processed, and then I get a green light and I can go on about my business, whether that's in banking or anywhere else. So I love the fact that this helps not just on the online space, but also in the banks themselves, in the actual locations, because when you're standing in line, dude, that's even worse than when you're having slow things on the internet, right? Because when you're having a slow day on the internet, it's just like you get frustrated, you go have a cup of coffee and you try it again later and hope that the network connection is uncongested. But when you're standing in line in like a bank or financial services situation, wherever you're at, lines are horrible. That's the most horrible thing that I can think of today, because there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do except for just wait, and the more you wait, the more frustrated you're getting. So how do you feel that your customers are reacting or changing now that they have this technology in place?
Well, it comes from different respects. I mean, like, you also need to remember, it's not just the line, it's the space where you're standing. It is costing them money. So let's start about, property. I mean, like, look at this. Okay, so you're talking about, the customers with, that have the space. They have a few challenges. Okay, these I would say the old heritage banks. One is they have customers who are purely in the online space. If it's Simple by BBVA, if it's Lending Club, if it's Remitly, or any other the remittancy players. Okay, so one is you have these smaller, much more agile businesses that are giving service instantly. So and they don't have the heritage of one, the branches, to the back office. Okay, so I mean, but also you can't eliminate the branch. Okay, you have still there's still stuff. Even me. I mean, like, I'm not a millennial. Okay, I was born in the mid-70s, and no, there's still stuff that you'll need to do if you like it or not. You need to come to the branch, okay, to do some stuff. If I look into myself, I come to the branch once every 6 months, just to do, something specific that you need, from that perspective. But for them, it's if you have longer queues, it means you need to have bigger space, and they don't want to have bigger space because they're looking to cut down on their property size. So that's one thing. But also you need to remember from that respect, okay, that why are they queuing? They're queuing not because the branch manager had a bad day and he said, okay, so all of you stand in and I wanted to punish you because I'm having a bad day. It's not that respect. It's because the procedures in the bank are just too slow. And one of the procedures, okay, is the whole issue of is verifying who you say you are. And that's just take time, especially for a bit more for account. If you want to open a bank account, or if you want to get a mortgage, or you're going to loan, or you want to do changes into your bank account. I mean, you need to understand that the banks, they have a code book. They haven't wrote the code book. The regulators wrote the code book, okay, and they need to fulfill the code book. So what they're trying to do, these banks, okay, is to try to automate as much as they can that code book, okay, not because they want it, not because they love it, because they need it in order to make it much more efficient. And by doing that, okay, they'll be able basically to cut down on their queues on the branches. I can give, I'll give you a live example. We've been doing this And again, I mean, we have customers in the U.S., we have customers in Europe, but I think one that we can speak out of is we help. Most of the car manufacturers, they have their own finance arms, and one of our customers in the car business is Nissan, Renault, Infiniti. And one of the processes that we provide them is car financing, especially in the UK. And until I don't know, I know it's not, it's an interesting story, but what we help them is basically, in reality, for the customer, to get an instant an answer on a car loan in 20 minutes. You need to understand that before they use their system, if you were to come to the dealership and want to buy a Nissan, if you submitted your request for a loan until 12 noon, you will get an answer by 4 p.m. Okay? If you submit it after 12 noon, you will get the answer tomorrow morning. That's not really nice experience. If you want to come and buy a car, there's a good chance you lose the customer in the process. So they have deployed their solution. It's now been the 5th year they've been working with us. And what we've done is that now they're willing to say to them, listen, give us 20 minutes. We'll run the whole process via using our solution, and we'll give you in reality, you can drive out with a car in 20 minutes if we're willing to give you a loan. If you don't want to pay cash, of course, and cash is king. But most in our days, you never pay cash for the car. You usually get it financed, and it gives them the flexibility to sell the car and move more cars out of the showroom, just because I come to the dealership and it's just the experience is super slick. And from their point of view, from Nissan, Renault, Infiniti, it basically automated all the back office. It allows them to basically do it very quickly, very smooth, no typos, no missing data gaps, and basically, say, okay, we'll do it very quickly, and we'll give you a car loan, and here's your car, and have a great day. So, it's just they understand these banks. Some of them, they do it because they're innovative, like Renault, Nissan. Some of them are doing it because, the competition is just killing them, and they need to modify themselves to the changes in the industry. It's like, how it's an interesting story. I'm not anyway, but it's like when Netflix came, and they tried to compete against Blockbuster.
Right. Okay.
And in the end, at the beginning of the day, listen, you don't need to go to the shop. We'll send you the CDs. And then, the internet came, and now we can stream now. So the hell with it. Let's kill the CDs. So it's all about, the fact, there were not a lot of Blockbuster, but Blockbuster didn't understand where the market was going and died. And by the way, I used to work in Blockbuster in my early days, so it's a bit, I'm talking about a bit of nostalgic, but Blockbuster was fun. It was a fun shop.
Yeah, man. Gosh, the world is changing so fast. The processes are changing, the technology is changing, and just our expectations are changing. And so companies need to adapt. They need to change their processes. They need to adapt, because if they don't, they're going to die the way of the Blockbuster, right? So, yes. Ron, that's a great segue transition into the third segment here on this podcast, which is the future of technology. So we've talked about the past, all the problems that customers and the agents had to deal with, and then the present, what you guys are solving today. So in just a moment, let's talk about the future of technology and the future of this space. But first, we'll take a quick break and thank our sponsors. This episode of Hello Tech Pros is sponsored by Minio Cloud Storage. Minio is a cloud object storage server for developers and DevOps written in Go. The Go programming language is the emerging language of choice for modern cloud infrastructure projects, and it allows Minio to be highly concurrent and lightweight. Minio is Amazon S3 compatible, built with microstorage architecture in mind, but at its heart, Minio is simple, scalable, and supported by a passionate developer and user community. In episode 89 of Hello Tech Pros, I talked with A.B. Periasamy, one of the founders of Minio, about the importance of community support and recruiting software developers who are as passionate about their product's code as artists are of their art. Check out that episode at hellotechpros.com/89 and check out Minio Cloud Storage at minio.io. That's minio.io. Are you new to podcasting? Are you looking for a fast, high-quality, yet budget-friendly podcast production team? Let TransSource Media take care of you. With a team of professional audio and video editors, writers, and graphic artists, they can help you build your podcast from planning, post-production, and platform submission. Using only cutting-edge software and studio equipment, they're here to make each and every show sound at its best. To get a free quote, please visit www.transsourcemedia.com or send them an email at marketing@transsourcemedia.com or call them at 209-505-5693. TransSource Media, transforming businesses through the power of multimedia. Okay, we're back with Ron Atzmon. Ron is the managing director of Authentics Limited, pioneers of multi-channel ID authentication and record generation. And before the break, we were talking about what is this space? Well, it's really about proving that somebody is who they are, right? So if you think of the actual physical documents like a driver's license, a passport, a birth certificate, a whatever, all of that type of regulatory information that proves who you are. And then on the online space, right? So connecting to those agencies and making sure that we are who we are. So we're helping out, or Authentics is helping out both in the border control areas as well as in the financial services. So in financial services, it's all about improving the customer experience, right? We don't want to stand in big queues. We don't want to wait for hours on end to get our approval. We want to just, click a button. We want to sign the thing. We want to get the financing on our car, and we want to go on about our business. So Ron, as we think about the future of this space over the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, what big changes or challenges do you see that we're going to need to overcome?
Well, the industry, not the industry, it's not our industry. The world is creating new challenges and new issues from that perspective, either from a regulatory point of view or just, industries that are being created. So I'll give you two interesting examples, okay? So, and again, I'm sorry for, US is a fascinating market, but, I think leading from an innovative point of view, I think Europe in that respect is innovating from a compliance point of view, and that basically drives our business. So when you come into a bank, okay, one of the procedures, okay, so they check the document, and then they need to say that the person that they see in front of the document is to see who they are. To verify that, you say who you say you are. Mm-hmm. Now, there is a problem in the online environment. In the KYC process, it's called anti-impersonation. And so the regulators, the ones that are more advanced, to do that more online, said, okay, how do we see that the person who's submitting this document via the website or we see it more and more the mobile app is actually the person behind this document? Because you might be, as you rightly said, you might have printed my driver's license. Okay, that let's just for argument's sake say that I'm based out of New York. I live on in Soho, but it's not really Ron. And it's you. Mm-hmm. So what drives us? Okay, so we also want to see that connecting the document to the person. So, and as you rightly so you need to do a face comparison. So you say, okay, to the user, listen, submit your document with your phone, and then take also a selfie of yourself, and you submit it in one API call to the document. Now, as you're aware, face comparison tools have been out in the market for many, many years now. They use mainly on homeland security. But the problem in that respect is that, especially in the airports, is you control not you, I mean like the security companies, they control the input device, they control the cameras. These are very high-end cameras, and they can, autofocus them on whoever they want to be used.
Right.
The problem in the online space is that you don't control the input device. You're in the mercy of your. I mean, like if you're like PayPal or one of our customers, PayPal is in the mercy of their user how they use a mobile device. So so we are trying to be compliant and help our customer in this anti-impersonation issue that compare the document to the person submitting it. So the innovation came from our respect is we tried using multiple vendors in the face compare tool, but the problem is that the online environment creates its own challenges when it comes to quality of the images. So I would say that that's so I'm a great believer, if you can buy and not develop, do that. Okay, focus on what you're doing, great. And what I see is we need to develop, and that's how I see the market from a user point of view. I mean that's where the market is going on, providing automated self compare, we call it, in the mobile space. I'm guessing there'll be going to be a few more. I mean, like it's not like we're going to be the only provider, but from an automation point of view, we're currently by far the leading in that respect. So it's one where the market is going. Another one that creates great opportunity in the market is the sharing economy.
Mm-hmm.
All the Ubers and the Lyfts and Upwork. There are many sharing economies. Now that's created another challenge. The challenge here, okay, so everybody is registering to either rent their place or offer themselves as an employee or drive themselves a car. But how do you connect between the virtual world and the real world? And unfortunately, the only tool at the moment is the document. So you see, you start seeing different opinions, not just in the financial services, but the internet creates new sectors that needs the documents to be used because it's the only standard stuff that currently exists. And the problem with data, when you said in the first place, data is one, it's a commodity. Second, you can buy data anywhere. It's not like you can't buy fake documents, okay? But from an image processing point of view, it's a bit more difficult to fake an ID. By the way, everything is breakable, even our solution. I mean, like, there's no foolproof.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But when you buy data, I mean, data is data. You can't, when you buy, there's no like a seal. Okay, this data is protected. It's just a data piece. So I see the challenges, coming from new sectors in the industry that they need, and that creates new opportunities in our sector. So if we'll try to sum it up, new industries are coming up, but also trying to be compliant with different regulators who are looking to take offline experience to an online experience.
Yep. So many new problems are coming up in these unregulated markets, in these brand new markets that are just popping up because we're in uncharted territory, right? So I worked very briefly for a sports entertainment company that did basically you competed against other people for fantasy football, for fantasy baseball and stuff like that, and you competed for real money. And so there's a big know your customer component of that to make sure that you don't have underage kids taking part of this really cool, snappy, awesome application that makes it really easy to compete against your friends and against other people. But you know what? That's you don't want little kids playing that. Because there's real money involved, and you don't want people with habitual gambling problems to play that because it could cause problems too. And this is a new space that nobody's ever worked in before. And the same thing with Uber and everything else, right? How do we know that the drivers are really the drivers that are going to pick you up and not just like loaning my account to my buddy down the street and so forth? So lots of new opportunities, lots of new challenges, fascinating topic that we've been talking about today, man, is just kind of opening my mind to really looking at this whole space all over again, because it's not just about me and my buddy McLovin and we're trying to do naughty things on the weekend just for kicks, just for fun, but it's really about a whole new economy, a whole new world that we live in where, look, we're flat. Like, the world is flat again. We are not distributed across the face of the earth. We are all online. We are all on the internet, whether you're from the US or whether you're from Europe or whether you're from really growing countries that are starting to get online. And now you have millions and millions or billions of people in developing countries who are now getting online, and they need to prove who they are, and they want to be a part of this online economy too. Dude, this area is exploding, or is going to grow just astronomically. So, wish you all the best in this new economy, in this new space, and all the challenges that you're going to have to overcome. But before we go, Ron, do you have any final words of wisdom for our audience? And then please share the best way that we can connect with you. Then we'll say goodbye.
I'm just saying, open your eyes, open your ears, learn, because I think, as I say to our customers, we don't think we're the smartest person in the room, but what makes us strong is our ability to listen to what our customers needs, and how we can modify, how you can modify your business to the changing environments. If you would like, I'll be more than happy to connect with any of you that want to chat. You can either use our website, which is at Authentic. It's AU10TIX. You have all our emails over there. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. You just use my name. I'm very accessible. You have the emails over there, and I'm definitely. I think, as one of our customers, Dan Schulman, on his visit from PayPal, that has visited Israel, and he said, we're not in even the end of the beginning of the newborn of financial services. It's just starting, and I see for the industry interesting opportunities, but also very interesting challenges. And it's going to be very interesting to see who would reinvent itself and who would not reinvent itself.
Awesome. Great stuff, Ron. Thank you so much for joining me on Hello Tech Pros today. I really value this conversation because I'm starting to travel more, and I'm starting to get out of my shell. I've suffered with social anxiety in the past, and when you do that, you think internally, right? You think all about yourself. And so now I'm changing to think more about my fellow people across the world, and the challenges that they experience, and how we are all working and living and evolving in this new economy, and all of the different challenges that are out there that we need to overcome. Great stuff, man. I appreciate you sharing it with us today.
Chad, thank you much for the opportunity being on your program, and I'm looking forward for future discussions between which will be very fruitful.
Awesome. Sounds great. Tech Pros, if you are in this space where maybe you have a startup, right? Maybe you're building a startup and you have, of course, like a customer registration piece of it, you really need to think through in your space, what is the regulation, right? What are the critical pieces of information? Because we got to balance. It's always a balance between knowing who your customer is and privacy at the same time. So how do you do the best of both? What are the regulations in place? Or if you're in a brand new market that you're inventing that nobody's ever thought of before, there is no regulation. What regulation should there be in a few years after you establish this market, or what regulation opportunities will come up once this market kind of gets a little bit more established? And really think about how to balance between getting the right information from your customers so that you can prove who they are, as well as the privacy aspect at the same time. It's probably going to be very, very difficult if you're in a new market. But I challenge you to really look at that, take away a lot of the information that Ron has shared with us and go forward and build great things. You've been listening to Ron Atzmon, and I'm Chad Bostic. And until next time, take care. The show notes page for this episode can be found at hellotechpros.com/214. Do you use Slack for team communication? Join the Hello Tech Pros Slack channel at hellotechpros.com/Slack. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, subscribe to this channel, and check back tomorrow. This has been Technology Thursday, but tomorrow my featured guest and I discuss people and communication. On Saturday, we talk entrepreneurship, Sunday, being unplugged, Monday, motivation, Tuesday, productivity, Wednesday, leadership, and back again on Thursday to discuss technology once again. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.